You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is James. Let's start my clock here. Good morning, everybody. This is James Morris. I have to start my clock again. I got Scott Hobbs calling all the way from Mr. Rooter Plumbing at 763-2001. We're going to talk a little bit about sewer scams. And everybody sits there and goes, what's a sewer scam? Well, a sewer scam is where you think you're seeing something and you're really not seeing something. Scott, am I saying that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some shysters out there.
Tell me a little bit about what some of the things they do that seem like most people may not pay attention to. They may say, well, I don't understand what they're talking about. So what are some of the scams that they do that people may be aware of?
Well, and I think fortunately, in our area, most of our competitors, here in Northwest Florida are doing a really good job. I haven't really run across anybody that's intentionally misleading a homeowner or a customer. But, back during the slowdown, the recession, or whatever you want to call it, there was a lot of companies across the nation, and it became really an epidemic that we saw in a lot of trade journals that were doing this bait and switch. So they would charge, $79, $89, $99, whatever the number would be. We'll unstop any drain. We'll cable any drain for you. And they would get out there and they would have a scam prepared to say, hey, oh, wow, we've got this huge problem that we've got to take care of. Now, first of all, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is, right? So if somebody's charging $79 or $99 to cable a drain, any drain, then there's probably a catch to it. So, no reputable company can profitably charge that little amount to cable a drain and give you a good job. There's something up with it. So they would do that. They would take and camera the line. Hey, we're providing a service to camera the line, and by the way, we just found a collapsed line. And so what they would do is they would show them a video of Mrs. Smith down the street whose line actually was collapsed, and they're looking at her video, her recording, thinking that they have a collapsed line. And they would sell them, $3, $4, $5, $10,000 sewer replacement that maybe didn't need to be done.
So what they did is it's kind of like if someone in the automotive repair industry said, here's your ball joints, and they took them off the car, and they kept them around for every car around there, and they're wore out ball joints, and they're not the right ball joints. So that's what they're doing. They're looking at something and videotaping someone's terrible drain and showing that as their drain. How can people avoid that happening to them? How can they avoid that? What would you recommend?
If they're not out there with the, let's say they're an elderly person or a person that's off-site, and they're not actually there with them while they're video recording to see that it's actually alive. One of the things that we do and can do is we'll take and hold the camera up and show that we're at their house before it goes into their drain.
That's a good idea.
So, or if you're the homeowner, we can take the camera and point it at their face and say, hey, look, you're on camera. Smile.
You're on sewer cam.
That's right. So that they know that it is their home, and it's obvious that they're not being misled by seeing an old video.
True. And so you let them show that. So that would show them that that's their real their real drain down there.
That's their property. That's right.
Is that the biggest scam out there, where people come around and they sit there and they misrepresent themselves and showing this is your sewer line that's clogged up and it's really not their sewer line? Is that one of the biggest things that they seem to be doing?
Well, either that or just saying, hey, I see something that's wrong, and it's maybe not really wrong. Or they'll there's stories of people taking dirt or rocks that they carry with them, and they dump out and say, hey, look what I pulled back, look what I found in your drain. This proves that you have a broke line, and people taking their word for it. I would say that for the homeowner, it's different with automotive, because you have insurance requirements that don't allow somebody to go back and watch you working on my car. I can't watch your guys because it's dangerous, and your insurance doesn't allow it. But this is your home. You have every right to be standing by at a safe distance and watching what they're doing, at all times.
Well, now we talk. Well, this right here, it's information I got came off Angie's list over there, A lot of people, I bet you I get probably 20 to 40 inquiries to the Better Business Bureau a month. People have never been here. I'm a member of the Better Business Bureau. They send, is this a reputable business? And they put the number of inquiries per month that come into them about James Auto Center. And I know you probably get the same thing. Is that something you would recommend people inquiring with the Better Business Bureau, inquiring with Angie's List, asking your neighbors? What would you recommend to avoid scams? Especially if you can't be, if you're like a landlord, you don't have time to be at your house as you've got 5 or 6 other businesses. How do you find the right plumber to do the job correctly?
Well, it's like anything, in Angie's List and Better Business Bureau, they're a professional referral service. But I would say be referred. Somebody that you know and trust, whether it's a service or a friend or neighbor, let them refer somebody that they've had success with. And they're going to, in most cases, be honest. It's your neighbor, your friend, your family member. They're not going to steer you wrong. And if you've been taken or feel like you've had one pulled over on you, you really know in your heart whether you can prove it or not. You just don't feel comfortable about it. So take those referrals from those folks. They'll steer you right.
And same thing in my business right here. I have people all the time. The best advertisement I have, and you have, is customers referring their friends and family. That's the biggest thing. One of the biggest reasons we have customers come to us over the years. I have people say, "Well, have you heard? How'd you find out about me?" And you would expect, well, television, radio. Well, normally it's, my friend came here and you worked on his car and you did such a great job. We want to come, and you took care of him, answered his questions. We feel like you'll take care of us the same way. And that really goes, to me, that goes really a long way. And that's one of the reasons we like to have our repeat customers come to us. And the same thing with Mr. Reuter over here. Y'all been in business now. You are third generation plumber. You are, or are you second?
I'm third generation. My grandfather was a plumber, coincidentally, but my father actually started in the plumbing business in 1973. So we've been trying to do the right thing for a long time.
Well, he started this business when I was in high school. I was a junior in high school, and he started this. A junior, senior in high school is what I was doing. I graduated 73, 74. So one of the things about plumbing since then, I'm talking about 73, 74, what is some of the biggest changes? We got about 5 minutes left. So have you seen since 73, since your father came in business, and now, I mean, back then probably it was quite common to use iron pipe and lead. Y'all were probably out there making joints out of lead solder, I guess is what y'all using back then in the 70s, versus now where you don't have anything. Well, you probably don't do anything like that, but I don't know. What are some of the changes? Some of the big changes?
I can remember being a little kid out on job sites, seeing my father pour lead into cast iron joints.
Right. I remember watching that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and it'd be cold weather, and everybody's huddled around that pot, warming up, with the lead boiling.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine, the EPA now with us sniffing lead?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, because we actually used lead. Believe it or not, lead was used as a bondo on cars years and years ago. Before World War II.
Sure.
Any dents were filled in with lead. That's how they put body seams together, was with lead. And I got people looking at it and say, what? Honest to goodness, put them together with lead. I've taken many a car apart where the seams were put together with lead and worked on. And the same thing in the body. But that doesn't happen anymore. Y'all don't use lead, do you?
No, and even over the last few years, a good quality brass, has lead in it to make it strong. So they have had to redevelop brass plumbing fixtures, the faucets and things that we drink our water. The water comes through to where they are 100% lead free. So now the new faucets that you purchase for your home, the brass components are going to be 100% lead free. So those are some of the big changes, and of course the technological changes with us using fiber optic cameras to run down the drain lines and be able to do some neat things like that. Yeah,
it's a lot cheaper. Back years ago, having a bore scope like that in the automotive industry was ungodly. We were talking $3,000 and $4,000. Now a bore scope that I can put on an Android camera with a 15-foot lead costs less than $50. So
Wow.
yeah, it's, I mean, just think about think about what y'all have out there and how that's gotten a lot better with the cameras and the hydro scrubbing, which you're able to do now without having to put anything caustic down there or anything abrasive, just using water pressure to cut all that out. It is pretty amazing. But we were talking about the improvements. Now, we talked about we don't use lead anymore. I can't use lead on repairing radiators. We have to use lead-free lead, if I don't know what they call it, but it is lead-free. And we still can use it, solder it, but it's lead-free. We use that on radiators. But what are some of the other improvements? We got about 3 minutes left. Since we don't use lead, we use Flint, Michigan. They were talking about they're having a problem with lead in their water supply. And the only way that's going to get in there is from the piping, that I can understand. So is that where lead comes from, and they're getting rid of it from the piping and the connections and from all that? They're getting rid of that and going with PVC or PBX or whatever you call that stuff?
Yeah, PEX. Or, sure, and that's the other thing. We were talking about drain lines, but water lines, copper water lines, until I believe, if I remember right, the early 90s, we were using what was called 50-50 solder, and it was 50% lead.
Sure.
So, all the homes that were built in the 80s and older that have copper, they still have lead joints, putting the copper pipes together.
Correct.
So I'm assuming so. I don't really know about the municipal side, how they used to secure those. I don't think they used, copper that much in the big diameter stuff, but in your homes, those pre-1980 something houses are going to have lead in those copper pipes.
Right. It's something we just don't. It's the unintended consequence. You don't think about it at the time when you're putting it in. But if if a house sits for a long time and the water just sitting there, that lead will leach out into the water. Now we're talking about parts per billion, and it may not affect you if you're full grown. But if a child's in the house and it's developing, that can cause mental problems and developmental problems. I think that's what it causes lead does. That's one of the reasons they talk about babies shouldn't eat paint chips, because they have lead in them. It causes brain damage.
Right.
I'm just saying. But lead is something that we've been phasing out of our industry. Even the automotive industry, we phase it out. We phased out asbestos. I'm sure y'all phased out asbestos too. Y'all were using it at one time.
Sure.
You had to wrap pipes with asbestos. You don't wrap them with asbestos anymore. You wrap them with something else. So things are changing out there, and nothing stays the same. And I bet you we got about a minute left. Don't you go yearly to seminars to keep you current on new technologies that are coming out?
Oh, sure. We're mandated seven hours a year for my contractor license, but as you know, to be somewhat successful and stay ahead of the curve, you have to do way more than 7 hours. It's almost constant trade journals and industry association classes and things just to understand how to be productive in this industry.
Absolutely. I was going to say 7 hours a month.
That's right.
That's about the minimum just to maintain 7 hours a month. In the automotive industry, we spend an average, I would say, 4 hours a month going to school, about 4 hours a month. Each month, we're in a class for 2 nights, and usually it's 3 to 4 hours per night for 2 nights, and that's every month. Without fail, we're going to a class learning something new or something we already know, but learning it a little bit better. We even have classes on oil and antifreeze, if you can believe that.
Oh, sure.
They talk about, because in our industry, we think that oil is oil and antifreeze is antifreeze. Wrong answer. They're not even close. They may do the same job, but they don't look the same and they don't work the same. Same thing in your industry. Scott?
That's right.
We got to go. Thank you so much for being on there. People want to know if people are looking for a job, or they need any repair work done, or they need any maintenance done, or just want a free estimate on a repair, give them a call at 763-2001. That's Scott Hobbs at Mr. Rooter, and they'll be more than happy to take care of your sewer problem needs. We'll be back tomorrow morning, everybody. Bye-bye.
James Auto Center, we fix it right.